documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Time is precious, time is money, and this is the time for Money Talk on Atlantic Television Network. On ATN Business today, good day viewers and welcome to a fresh episode of ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network right here in the viewers. This program is aimed at bringing to the doorstep of viewers the business, financial and economic activities from all strata of society.
On the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back, and now let's go into market reports, local and international business news for today. Nintendo Co.'s share price sank 5.4% after the company's forecast disappointed investors, and it announced that news of a successor product to its popular Switch device will be made by March 2025. Sony Corporation shared 5% amid speculation over a potential buyout of Paramount Global by Sony Pictures and the private equity firm Apollo Global Management. Market players are watching to see how 154 yen Japanese official Kazuo Ueda, governor of the Bank of Japan, told lawmakers on Wednesday. A weak yen helps the profits of Japanese companies that earn much of their revenue overseas, but fluctuation. Investors are listening to critics who have been calling the U.S. stock market broadly too expensive following its run to records this year. For stock prices to climb further, either profits will need to grow more or interest rates will need to fall. Wall Street still considers the latter a possibility this year, following some events last week that traders found encouraging. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank remains closer to cutting its main interest rate than hiking it, despite a string of stubbornly high readings on inflation this year. In other trading, U.S. benchmark crude oil fell 48 cents to $77.90 per barrel in electronic trading on the New York Mercantile Exchange. It lost 10 cents on Tuesday to $78.38 per barrel. Brent crude oil, the international standard, declined 52 cents to $82.64 per barrel. The euro drops to $1,0747 from $1,000. Began the collection of processing fees for cash deposits on May 1st. According to the latest circular to financial institutions and non-financial institutions, the CBN said the process bank or between different banks for the same customer. Overlay clever closed logo, intrabank transfers of the same bank. Other financial institutions owe FIS instructions to their correspondents. Banks interbank placements. Banks transfers to CBN and vice versa. Interbranch transfers within a bank. Checks clearing and settlements. Letters of credit, LCs. Banks recapitalization related funding, only bank funds movement from collection accounts. Savings and deposits including transactions involving long-term investments such as treasury bills, bonds, and commercial papers. Government social welfare programs transactions, e.g. pension payments. non-profit and charitable transactions involving long-term investments such as treasury bills, bonds, government social welfare programs transactions, e.g. payments. Charitable and charitable transactions include registered non-profit organizations or charities. Educational institutions, transactions including tuition payments and other transactions involving schools, universities, or other educational institutions. Transactions involving banks' internal accounts such as suspense accounts, clearing accounts, profit and loss accounts, inter-branch accounts, reserve accounts, nursery and butcher accounts, and escrow accounts. You're watching ATM Business on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Welcome back to ATN Business on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. We're on StarTimes channel 194 and you can view live on YouTube. TikTok and its Chinese parent company filed a lawsuit Tuesday challenging a new American law that would ban the popular video sharing app in the U.S. unless it's sold to an approved buyer, saying it unfairly singles out the platform and is an unprecedented attack on free speech. In its lawsuit, ByteDance says the new law vaguely paints its ownership of TikTok as a national security threat in order to circumvent the First Amendment despite no evidence that the company poses a threat. It also says the law is so obviously unconstitutional that its sponsors are instead portraying it as a way to regulate TikTok's ownership. For the first time in history, Congress has enacted a law that subjects a single named speech platform to a permanent nationwide ban and bars every American from participating in a unique online community with more than 1 billion people worldwide. ByteDance asserts in a lawsuit filed in Washington appeals courts. The law, which President Joe Biden signed as part of a larger foreign aid package, marks the first time the U.S. has singled out a social media company for a potential ban, which free speech advocates say is what would be expected from repressive regimes such as those in Iran and China. Instagram and YouTube could be the biggest winners of a TikTok ban, but smaller rivals could rise too. The lawsuit is the latest turn in what's shaping up to be a protracted legal fight over TikTok future in the United States, and one that could end up before the Supreme Court. If TikTok loses, it says it will be forced to shut down next year. The law requires ByteDance to sell the platform to a U.S.-approved buyer within 9 months. If a sale is already in progress, the company would get another 3 months to complete the deal. ByteDance has said it doesn't plan to sell TikTok. But even if it wanted to divest, the company would need Beijing's blessing. According to the lawsuits, the Chinese government has made clear that it wouldn't allow ByteDance to include the algorithm that populates users' feeds and has been the key to the success of TikTok in the United States. TikTok and ByteDance say the new law leaves them with no choice but to shut down by next January 19 because continuing to operate in the U.S. wouldn't be commercially, technologically, or legally possible. They also say it would be impossible for ByteDance to divest its U.S. TikTok platform, a separate entity from the rest of TikTok, which has 1 billion users worldwide, most of them outside of the United States. A US-only TikTok would operate as an island that's detached from the rest of the world, the lawsuit argues. The suit also paints divestment as a technological impossibility since the law requires all of TikTok's millions of lines of software code to be wrested from ByteDance so that there would be no operational relationship between the Chinese company and the new US app. The companies argue that they should be protected by the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of expression and are seeking a declaratory judgment that is unconstitutional. The Justice Department declined to comment on the suit Tuesday, and White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre declined to engage on questions about why the president continues to use TikTok for his political activities, deferring to the campaign. Rep. Raja Krishnamurthy, an Illinois Democrat who is the ranking member of the House Select Committee of the Chinese Communist Party, issued a statement Tuesday defending a new law. This is the only way to address the national security threats posed by ByteDance ownership of apps like TikTok. Instead of continuing its deceptive tactics, it is time for ByteDance to start the divestment process, he said. ByteDance will first likely ask a court to temporarily block the federal law from taking effect, said Gus Hurwitz, a senior fellow at the University of Pennsylvania's Carey Law School who isn't involved in the case. Balancing important free speech issues against the Biden administration's claims of harm to national security. I think the courts will be very differential to Congress on these issues, he said. The fight over TikTok comes amid a broader U.S.-China rivalry, especially in areas such as advanced technologies and data security that are seen as essential to each country's economic prowess and national security. U.S. lawmakers from both parties, as well as administration and law enforcement officials, have expressed concerns that Chinese authorities could force ByteDance to hand over U.S. user data or sway public opinion by manipulating the algorithm that populates users' feeds. Some have also pointed to Rutgers University study that maintains TikTok content was being amplified or underrepresented based on how it aligns with the Chinese government's interest, a claim the company disputes. Opponents of the law argue that Chinese authorities or any nefarious parties could easily get information on Americans in other ways, including through commercial data brokers that rent or sell personal information. They say the U.S. government hasn't provided public evidence that shows TikTok has shared U.S. user information with Chinese authorities or tinkered with this algorithm for China's benefits. Data collection by apps has real consequences for all of our privacy, said Patrick Toomey, Deputy Director of the ACLU's National Security Project. Banning one social media platform used by millions of people around the world is not the solution. Instead, we need Congress to pass laws that protect our privacy in the first place. Jamal Jaffa, Executive Director of Knight's First Amendment Institute at Columbia University, expects TikTok's lawsuits to succeed. The First Amendment means the government can't restrict Americans' access to ideas, information, or media from abroad without a very good reason